Hello folks, I wanted to talk tonight about paranormal locations and the effects on the human body, which often isn't documented properly, often not documented enough, and often misunderstood. Myself and Rachel tonight were in a retail premises renowned for footsteps upstairs, and when people go up to find out who's upstairs, there's no one upstairs. There is one entrance to that upstairs room, and that is it. Oh, I can't talk too much about the retail premises in question because somebody asked about doing a paranormal investigation and it was declined. Sometimes businesses don't want to get involved in the paranormal. Sometimes the paranormal is portrayed in a negative kind of way and labelled very wrongly, and people are scared of that, and I understand that completely. But we were in this shop. There were shops beside this particular shop that was closed, and I've heard about the footsteps before, but we both experienced the footsteps tonight within a few minutes of entering the building. So we go upstairs. I'm expecting a room the size of the downstairs, but it turns out that this room goes down almost the whole block of the street. The upstairs room is over 3 shops altogether. So it was a pretty big room. But at first I thought, before we went up, there might be a logical explanation. There may be an extension or whatever, and somebody's working in that extension. Turns out not to be the case when I go upstairs, and the steps were pretty heavy kind of thing. So we go upstairs to investigate sort of thing, and I always have equipment in the car, but we never used any of it. We lasted 10 minutes. 10 minutes. The minute I walked into the room, it was like walking into a vacuum. Pressure on your head, pressure on your chest, your heartbeats starts to raise, and you start getting the shakes, and you feel the static, and it was horrible. And both of us felt similar experiences. Now, both of us came to the same sort of conclusion that, yes, it was a negative feeling on our body, and I honestly felt like if I stayed any longer there, I might have been physically sick. But even Rachel says, maybe the energy's too much for us. We don't understand fully about the energy, and it's not necessarily, maybe not necessarily negative. But people, very often, when they feel sick or feel bad, they label it as being attacked and jumping to conclusions without knowing the facts. But effects on the human body, it's very, very difficult to find facts about. The camera can do a certain amount, voice recorder can do a certain amount, record audio, video camera can record visual things. But very often you'll hear on YouTube that the best thing to have on a paranormal investigation is your own human body and how you feel. But the camera can't document it. The only way it can document it is like me talking to you now and how we both felt. Now, we've been doing paranormal investigations since 2017, and full investigations, we both say we done about 2 or 3, because we only consider a full investigation if we go a number of times to a place. Like we went 6 times to Dunry Fort. So we're new to this, and sometimes our experiences are new. But I think even people that been doing paranormal investigations a long time, they get new experiences all the time, and that sometimes adds to confusion, because if you had common behaviour or common activity, similar activity over and over again, there is some sort of a chance that you can explain any of that. But when it's different every time, that's when it gets really difficult. But yeah, the last 10 minutes, I says, I want to get out of here. We were outside having a smoke, and I says, if we were to investigate it, the best way to investigate a place like that would be to set up some CCTV and some cameras on tripods, some recorders that can be plugged into some sort of means so there'll be power for a long time, good quality microphones, a couple of balls and marbles on the floor set out in a pattern or whatever, and just record everything overnight. Because with YouTube, people want to have the whole investigation in one night. But if you were to try and get to the bottom of these footsteps or some of these phenomena, it's going to take the person being there and sometimes not being there, and comparing both. Certainly us not being there and using CCTV, it's not entertaining viewing for YouTube, but it's a paranormal investigation. Proper paranormal investigation sometimes isn't entertaining. But I'm still, a couple hours later, still affected by that room. Just the minute I stepped into it, I said I don't like this at all. You know? And the sad fact is that others would say, you know, they'd have a clickbait title or thumbnail and a scare, look terrified, put a bit of red outline around themselves and say, we ran for our lives, or we only lasted 10 minutes, this is so haunted, this was so too haunted even for us, or some shite like that. just telling you the facts. You know, the upstairs room of this retail place, the energy was weird. And, you know, possibility that I might have been physically sick. But, you know, like to put the logical hat on. You know, yes, maybe the energy is not agreeing with us very much. It's affecting us in a negative way. But are we being negatively attacked? You know, most likely not. But very often, people on YouTube would say, well, you know, it's affecting us negatively, so we're being attacked, and we're being attacked by something evil or nasty or whatever. We can't prove any of it. All I know is the energy in that room was something even more intense than the last time me and Rachel went on an investigation on the Inch Island, where Rachel was affected quite badly. And even she says, you know, it was like that, with the effect on the body, the shakes, the pressure on the chest, multiplied by 2, and that's why we lasted 10 minutes. And all I can do is tell you about it, because not allowed to film, not allowed to investigate, but it's something I'm going to remember for a while. Do you know? That's why sometimes people say, you know, when you're starting off an investigation, don't clutter yourself with equipment. Just go in yourself and try to get a feel for the energy and stuff. Now, I always have equipment in my bag, a spurt box and a voice recorder, and I says, you know, in this situation, I might even use a spurt box, or probably a voice recorder might have been handy there. And I says to Rachel, I have some in my bag, but I says, there's no flipping way I'm going back in there. Do you know? Just no way, because we don't understand the energies that we get involved in. Do you know? But certainly I wasn't going to, if we did do an investigation and, you know, we still felt that same way, we certainly weren't going to make a song and dance about being attacked by evil spirits or demons or any of that shite, which is it's a YouTube dangle the cars method that a lot of people use. Like, we're just being honest. We love the paranormal. I'm not into horror films, and sometimes those people that put more emphasis on YouTube than actual real evidence, they turn from being a paranormal channel to a horror channel, basically. And that's not what we want to do. Certainly we'd probably get more subscribers and more views and stuff, but we're not. I don't class myself as a YouTuber when it comes to the paranormal. We want to be paranormal investigators and investigate the paranormal and find out the truth, which we're probably never going to find fully the truth. But I think when you do an investigation, the human body is very important, and it's very important that you explain how you feel, because at the beginning of doing paranormal investigations, I wasn't very good at explaining how I felt. In fact, I brushed it off a lot of the time. But it's very important you document it. So I parked in the right place. Yeah, nothing exciting. Well, you know, I'm sorry that we couldn't bring cameras in. We were actually doing a completely different business altogether. And it's just that the paranormal activity, or whatever it was, unexplained footsteps that's commonly heard in that building, just happened to happen within 5 minutes of stepping into the retail place. It just, yeah, it's a shop that sells second-hand goods, and very often people say that, you know, second-hand goods. You listen to John Zappas and that. Very often the haunted items and came from charity shops and second-hand stores. You know, people die, and you know their belongings that they have treasured end up in these places, and the theory is that some of their energy stays with the objects involved. The other side of it is that building was pretty old. The building beside it was hundreds of years old, with a lot of history. And I can't talk about it either because I'll give away the actual place. But there's no way you can't jump to conclusions in situations like that. All we could do is... But it was an experience. And it prepared me for what might happen in the future, which has happened in the past, but in a different kind of way. You know? But certainly as a viewer, you don't get... You get some of the experience, you get the visual and you get the audio experience. But the full experience is sometimes the effects on the human body itself, going into a place, going into a room, going into a location, a house, or whatever the case may be. The viewer doesn't experience any of that. And it's very important sort of to talk about that, to document that, but at the same time, the viewer is not going to experience that. You know, it's... The reason why I wanted to talk about it tonight is just because sometimes the misunderstandings of the paranormal, and it's the paranormal is seen as in a negative way. It's in a negative light. You know, if you go into a location and you get affected in some way, sometimes people get scared in that, and it accelerates that feeling in that. Next thing they're talking about, I think we've been attacked by, there's something evil in here. An opportunity for a scary thumbnail and a scary title for viewers to be attracted to. It's not what we're about. It's not what we're about, and I know on YouTube we're always going to be small in relation to the paranormal. I'm good with that. I'm good with it because I'd rather be that than be a complete and utter liar. The people that watch, know us by now, know that we try to do our very best with the experience that we have to do things in a truthful kind of way. And we try to hype it up and lie about it, we're lying to the viewers that respect us, and that's something that I would not... It wouldn't sit right with me, you know? But tonight, it's going to stick in my head for a long time. What affects us in the way that we've been affected tonight? It's just, it was horrible. It wasn't nice. But I'm glad to see even Rachel, both of us, kept a logical head. And before I even suggested, before I even opened my mouth, Rachel says, well, we don't understand it, like. Is it negative? We don't know. Maybe it's just energy we don't understand and it's just too much for us. That's just the way it is, you know? Anyway, folks, I'm gonna go, and hopefully if I feel a bit better we can get out and do a few things before winter sets in, you know? Because the nights are closing in. Summer is leaving us. There's 2 summers now that we've missed out on opportunities, but in my case I have to look after myself first. I'd been very, very obsessed with the paranormal, and I had to sort of ground myself and rethink, you know, look at other aspects of my life rather than just the paranormal, you know. But even though we weren't investigating in that, the paranormal hasn't been very far from my mind. In fact, I'd been doing sessions, spirit box sessions every morning for months. And the longest time in a while that I haven't done a spirit box session. And I needed to do that. I needed to do that to sort of to gather my thoughts, gather my priorities and stuff. But certainly there was some challenges with transport and stuff, and those things are sort of being ironed out and that, so hopefully we will be back soon doing things. Health has to come first. It's very frustrating. We want to get out and investigate, and my health is not letting us do that, but I always say, you know, things will be a bit better in the future, like. I try to stay positive about it. You know? I just wanted to share that, our experience this evening, and explain how we felt about it. You know? Rather than say, we went into a place and it's so haunted we only lasted 10 minutes. Because there's something flipping evil in there. It's not the way it went down. We went into a room upstairs in a building. We lasted 10 minutes. We were affected negatively in a physical way. Well, you know, but we don't understand what done it. So we don't know, was it a negative attack on us? And we've come to the conclusion, most likely not. Just energy we're not fully understanding of. That's it, basically. But I think in our journeys in the future we will come across these experiences more. We probably won't even be able to explain it any better than we're explaining it tonight. Because it's one of the most difficult, being a paranormal investigator is one of the most difficult jobs in the world, because there's no instructions. There's no instructions at all. You know? Some people try to find instructions through other people's YouTube, and then they end up being confused because watching a number of different people, their methods conflict with each other, you know? You know? You can't go to school for this, you know? And what makes it even harder is science very often can't explain it, you know? Very often scientists are baffled by some of the phenomenon that's involved in the paranormal. And what are we? We're just people that love the paranormal, and we go out and try and investigate and try and learn along the way with no science degrees. It's not a great recipe, but it's just what the paranormal is. You know? But that's basically the paranormal in a nutshell. We don't know much about it, but we just try to do our best. And if something doesn't work, we try something else. You know? But you still, even as illogical as paranormal activity is, the bit of logic we have, we still have to try and use it and not jump to conclusions, you know. Folks, I'm going to go in, I'm parched for a cup of tea, and I'm going to watch some car videos, and I'll see you in a future video. Goodbye.